doing? In today's video, I'm going to be discussing both sides to the beginner guitar argument. So naturally, when somebody is wanting to start guitar, it's usually somebody, who's a lot younger, who probably it's their parents buying it for them. They don't know if they're really going to stick with it, so they go ahead and buy them like a cheap beginner guitar or like a starter pack or something that's very inexpensive. Now the argument to that, which I've heard recently, which at first actually seemed to make sense to me, is that rather than getting the absolute cheapest, like $100 starter pack guitar that you can, you should actually get one that's maybe 2 or 3 times the price of that to begin with. The concept of that being that if you spent that little bit more money, the guitar itself would be quite a bit nicer in terms of feel and playability. The frets would feel better. It would just be easier to play versus having a super bottom of the line cheap entry-level guitar. Now fundamentally, and of course generally speaking, that argument does make sense to me, because the idea is that you don't want to start off on a guitar that is such low quality that it actually discourages you from continuing. So again, I'm not saying that's wrong. In fact, that argument does make sense to me if you are talking about somebody who is even remotely on the fence about wanting to play in the first place. So now here's where I'm going to argue that it doesn't matter as much, and this is the other side of it, is if you know for sure that you want to play guitar, and this was partly my own experience having started with basically a beginner kind of starter pack many years ago. I think that if you are somebody who actually wants to learn the guitar, you're going to do that 100% regardless of what your first guitar is. In fact, if your first guitar is actually super cheap, if it has horrible fit and finish, there could actually be a couple of benefits to that, believe it or not. The first benefit is that you will be learning to play guitar from scratch with actual physical adversity. So if you have a guitar that's hard to play, that's rough around the edges, that's hard to get the setup to feel good, believe it or not, that can be a benefit to your playing when you do eventually move to an instrument that is actually better built and easier to play. Essentially, if you can learn to shred on an inexpensive guitar, as you graduate to more and more expensive guitars over the years, you will dominate those guitars. And the second benefit to having a really cheap guitar to start off with is that you will in fact appreciate the build quality of a finer guitar. So as you progress and as you obtain gradually nicer and nicer guitars, you will not take the craftsmanship for granted. You will appreciate it so much more. So there you go, that's basically both sides of it. Hopefully that all made sense. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did you start off with a really cheap guitar, or did you start off with a mid-level guitar, or did you start off with a really nice guitar? And how do you think it affected your playing? As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.